Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best build for all brawlers in the game. So some of these brawlers have newly got a second gadget. A lot of these brawlers don't have second gadgets as well, so I'll just be going through all of these. The last time I did this was like 2 months ago, and you guys seem to really enjoy it. So also let me know down in the comment section below what type of videos, what type of guides do you want to see in the future. I'll be hoping to bring that to you guys. And just before we get into today's video, appreciate you guys if you haven't subscribed already to sub, because I'm only 1,300 subs away from 100k, and that's been literally a goal of mine since I was probably like 12 years old, 13 years old, since I was very young. So I'd really appreciate if you guys, if you could help me reach towards that goal. But without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, guys, so jumping into the first one, we are going to be looking at this in terms of the Brawler rarity. So I'm going to be starting off with Shelley, obviously starting Brawler. Again, nothing really changed much with Shelley recently. Her best gadget is going to be the fast forward one. I know clay pigeons, we like to meme it a lot, but fast forward is going to be by far the better choice for Shelley in this one, until clay pigeons gets like a rework of some sort. I'm hoping that could be pretty OP in the future. And then shell shock as well with Shelley. 4 seconds slow is just really good at chaining supers, and the slow effect is just really crippling to a lot of enemies. Okay, so next up is Anita, and again, I don't think the setup has really changed much with Anita the past 2 months. Fox Fur is going to be the better gadget 100% with Anita. The 35% shield reduction over, I think it's 3 seconds, is really good at pushing the enemy back. And then if you pair this with Bear with me, the star power, it heals 800 to Bruce every single time you do any damage with Nita. And then the exact opposite with, well, the exact same when Bruce does any damage, 800 health is regenerated from Nita herself. So this is just an amazing combination. It just allows you to cycle bears so much quicker. So moving into Colt, I feel like, again, it hasn't really been much of a change. Even since the Colt gadget got a huge nerf, I still feel like this is the better gadget. Silver Bullet is just really good, especially on maps which Colt is still competitively viable on. These maps being GG Mortuary and Kaboom Canyon. Use that gadget to break up a lot of the wall and just redesign the map. It's actually a really underrated gadget in the game right now. And then for me, it can come down to personal preference for your star powers, but Magnum Special is used by most pros because of the faster bullet speed. It's just easier to clip people with this one. But if you want to be focusing more on juking, you can go with the slick boots. So next up, we have a Bull, and I feel like this is a real simple one for me. The best build is going to be his T-Bone Injector. It heals you up 1,500. May not seem a lot, but when you pair this with a tough guy star power, it can just make it really hard for enemies to actually take it down, and just gives them that extra boost of life, which is really good. Sometimes you can use Stomper on game modes like Brawl, maybe Gem Grab. But for me, I just always get more value out of the heal gadget. And again, with Berserker, you might get a little bit of value on Heist, but the complete build is going to be the T-Bone and Tough Guy. So next up, we have Jessie. And Jessie's in an amazing spot in the meta right now. This is mainly due to her Spark Plug gadget. I'm in love with this gadget by far. For me, that's going to be a better gadget. Even in game modes like Siege and Heist, you can get value out of the other gadget, which speeds up your turret. But for me, Spark Plug just enables you to slow an enemy down. I think it's for around 4 seconds, and just being able to get the kill is just much more important to keep control rather than a gadget on the safe, for example. But you can use both gadgets, both are pretty viable. And then for star powers, Energize is by far the better star power, 100%. You can heal your turret for nearly 900 healing per shot every single time. It's actually insane, and it can be so hard for the enemy to take that turret down. So next up is Brock, and again, a really easy option for me is going to be the Rocket Fuel gadget and Incendiary star power. So this is like the build that literally every single pro uses when they use Brock. You've got his Rocket Fuel. It just is such a huge radius with the wall break, and it can just really help to remap the map the way you want it. You want to destroy certain walls and just make it a lot more open for the long range brawlers. Rocket Fuel is going to be amazing for that. Incendiary, again, it's just going to be really good at keeping the enemies back and just pushing them, especially when they're in a bush as well for scouting. It can be really good over time. Next up, we have a Dynamite, and I feel like it's probably the easiest decision you'd have to make in terms of gadgets. Satchel Charge is by far the better gadget. The 1.5 seconds stun can just enable you to basically near enough kill every single brawl in the game, as long as you've got ammo or even a super aligned with it. And then for star powers, it's kind of up to personal preference. For me, I always use Demolition. because for me, sometimes you can get a bit caught in your way trying to jump around the map and waste a bit too much ammo on the jumping element of Dino Jump, but it can be pretty decent in some scenarios. But for me, Demolition is the more consistent one. Next up, we have Bo, and Bo, even though he's not the best in the meta, when you're using him to try and push, the totem's always going to be the better gadget in Bounty, especially because you can still get some good value, especially on maps like Snake Prairie, where you normally have like a Tara nearby. You can get your super, you still can get your mines. For star powers, you're always going to be using these stun mines, literally except for one map, and that's going to be Snake Prairie, of course, or other bushy maps. But in general, stun's just better. And then for me, for game modes like Brawl, and even on most gem grab maps, I still use tripwire. Sometimes it requires really good precision, really good like predictions on when the enemy's actually going to come towards the mine, because there's always that little delay with activating the mines. I still feel like it's an underrated gadget. So next up, we have a Tick, and by far the better gadget for Tick is going to be his new gadget, Last Hurrah. It just enables him to be so much more aggressive, pushing back those aggro brawlers just like Mortis, and it's a really good counter to 1000 damage as well. The pushback, everything about it is just amazing, but probably the best gadget in the game right now. And then for star powers, this one again can be personal preference, but for me, I really like Automatic, because obviously Tick's reload speed is really slow, so getting that 9% extra reload speed is going to be really crucial for him. But sometimes he can use well-oiled on certain maps, but overall I feel like Automatic is better. Next up, we have 8-bit, and for me, this is a really easy combo to pick from. So for gadgets, cheat cartridge, I think every single mode, every single map, that's going to be the better gadget for me. And a lot of different pros, I never really see the other gadget being used literally in any scenario. Pros really love cheat cartridge, because what it allows you to do, you can be really aggressive and then TP back to your station really well. And then with plugged in, that's going to be by far the better star power as well. This combination is really deadly. 8-bit's so good with this combo. So next up, we have Ems. It's going to be an easy choice for gadgets because she's only got one. But in terms of star powers, I feel like it can be down to personal preference. Again, for me, I really like the super aspect with Ems, especially when I'm using her in Hot Zone and Gem Grab. So if you're relying a lot on a super and work around that a lot of times, especially if you're near multiple people, Hype's going to be the better stop power for you. If you play far less away from your super and just try and keep the enemies back, then bad combo is going to be good for you. So now moving on to the res. First up, we have El Primo, and to be honest, I feel like you can use basically any gadget and any star power for El Primo. It kind of depends on the map and how you want to play him. So for me, a lot of times I would say probably more than likely than not, I'll be using the asteroid belt because it's really good at building pressure. And a lot of times with El Primo, I want to build a comp around wall break aspects, so that asteroid belt just helps to destroy a lot of the map. That's probably the only reason why I really run that. And then it kind of depends on what game mode. For me, I always use the speedy style power with El Primo when on Brawl, because it can help you score a lot of goals, it can help you cycle super a lot more. But I've seen a lot of El Primo on Siege, especially in competitive, and El Fuego is going to be the best one because you bring that out normally to counter tanks, and he can just shred through them with El Fuego. Up next, we have Barley, and for me, it's going to be easy in terms of star powers. It's always going to be medical use because of the healing aspect. You can push him back, but we're also slowly seeing a return of extra nauseous, and especially with the buff to that star power, I feel like this could be the more overwhelming one for Barley, but for now, it's definitely going to be the healing star power for me. And then there's going to be a change a little bit in the gadget. It depends on what game mode you're playing, but I would say every single game mode except for Siege, you want to be using the Herbal Tonic one. Giving your teammates that amount of healing is absolutely insane. It's really good value with Barley. But when we talk about Siege, I've seen a return in the Sticky Syrup gadget. Before, you didn't really get to use it much, but it's primarily brought into Siege to counter the likes of BB. BB's really prevalent in Siege right now, and the likes of Jackie. So using that gadget to slow tanks is really crucial. Also using it on the boss as well can mean you can get some awesome defense. So next up is a really easy one for me. It's going to be Poco. So by far the better gadget is going to be Tuning Fork, the 400 healing for 5 seconds to you and your teammates. It's going to be really good, especially in the beginning encounters. It's going to be really hard, especially if you're running Poco double tank, for the enemy team to really stop you with that amount of healing. And then the Capo as well is going to be by far the better star power. Healing your teammates and also dealing damage to the enemies can be a really good factor. So next we have Rosa. With the introduction of her new gadget, it's probably going to be one of the best gadgets in the game. Unfriendly bushes is insane. They 100 damage, so you can actually scout the enemies in the bushes is going to be really good. The 3-second slow as well, especially for a brawler like Rosa. When you combine this with brawlers like Max as well, there's basically nothing that's stopping a Rosa with shield, with that gadget, with that slow. It's just an insane combination. You've seen her so much in competitive, and now it's kind of crazy to see just because of this gadget. But yeah, definitely use this gadget if you haven't already. And then for star powers, it kind of depends on your playstyle, and if there's a lot of bushes on the map. You can still use Rosa now without a lot of bushes on the map. And if it's not a lot of bushes, I'll probably use the thorny gloves to get that extra damage. It's really good. But if there's a lot of bushes on the map, then plant life's going to be the better star power. So up next, we have Riko. Unfortunately, he only has one gadget. Hopefully, the next set of gadgets, he gets a new gadget. Fingers crossed. In terms of star powers, again, it's going to be one of these things where it's up to personal preference and a lot on the map. So if you're looking at a map with a lot of walls, I'd probably prefer super bouncy, especially maps like Hot Potato, for example. You're going to be trying to bounce as many shots as possible. That extra damage is really good. But on maps that aren't really a lot of walls, the speedy star power with Riko can be really good. It's so annoying to try and kill Riko whilst he's really low on HP. He can just zoom around the map and get so much control, so much pressure with this. So for me, it kind of depends on your playstyle. Up next, we have Daryl. Daryl, to be honest, has got two pretty good gadgets. You got the new gadget, Tar Barrel, which slowly is making a bit more of an impression on me, because what you can do, you can pop the gadget and just get really up close, dealing more damage with Daryl. Obviously, the closer you are, the more damage you're going to be dealing with Daryl, so it can be pretty good in that aspect. But for the most part, I use Recalling Rotator, because what it allows you to do is just cycle your super a whole lot better than normal. And that's probably the best thing about Daryl, is his super and his ability to roll on people, knock them back and get the kill. And then by far the better star power is going to be Steel Hoops. Rolling Reload just really hasn't found a place in the meta anymore, and just that shield whilst you're supering is going to be crucial to keeping you alive. So up next, we have Penny. I feel like for me, this is such an easy choice when you're thinking of our best build. By far, it's going to be the Captain Compass gadget. Just pressing that gadget and just blocking off a lot of area with the balls of fire star power as well. It can be really, really underrated, and especially when you've got an aggro chasing you, can pop that gadget. It can actually deal a surprising amount of damage, especially if you're getting on top of the high safe as well. You can do a lot of damage. And then speaking about star powers, by far the better star power is going to be balls of fire. The fact that I can just limit off a lot of the map. It's going to push the enemy just back because they can't run into that fire and take the damage. So next, we have Cole. It's going to be really easy to tell which is the better gadget for Cole. It's going to be Flying Hook, by far the better gadget. The ability just to basically TP into anyone's face, TP to get out of situations. You can score really amazing goals with it. It's one of the best gadgets in the game. It's really, really fun. The other one, Heat Ejector, even with the balances that came out, it's not going to be the better gadget. It's still going to be really trash, unfortunately, for Cole. Always going to be Flying Hook, the better gadget. And then star power, this can come down to how you play, whether you like to really revolve around his super protective pirouette. Can be really OP, especially when you use that Flying Hook against someone's face, super them. You can basically kill any single brawler in the game with protective pirouette. Or you can use Power Throw. That can be really underrated. Sometimes I like to switch between the two, but he's a really versatile brawler. Okay, so next up we have Jackie. It's going to be really easy for the gadget because it's only one. A speedy gadget is actually such a good gadget in the game. It enables you to bring back the gap from you and the enemy and just absolutely destroying them. And then star powers, even with the recent buff to other star power, Hardy Hard Hat's always going to be the better one because you get that extra HP. It reduces the damage dealt from enemies, and it's just going to be the better star power. Okay, so next up we have Piper. So for me, I always use a homemade recipe because it can just basically enable you to get a free shot on the enemy if you time it right. But if you're facing a lot of aggro brawlers, then the auto-aimer gadget can be pretty good in the fact that you can just knock back the aggro, keep them away from you, because obviously Piper's hardest counter is going to be the likes of Mortis and Edgar. The really aggro brawlers, Piper just suffers against. And then it can come down to personal preference again with the star powers. So if there's a lot of bushes and you're going to be staying behind a wall a lot of the times, so maps I think about this, I like Hard Rock Mine, where there's a lot of bushes. You're going to be using that ambush, the extra 800 damage, especially if you pair it with 8-bits turret. It's going to deal a lot of damage. And then, but for the majority of the part, I use snappy sniping because especially if you're getting them snipes in, it's going to be really rewarding, giving you back that ammo. And as you know, Piper's reload speed is so slow, so just getting that extra bit of reload speed is going to be really good. So next up we have Pam. I feel like this is a really easy choice. She only has one gadget, a really good gadget for Pam. And then going into the star powers, I feel like literally every single pro uses Mama's Squeeze because that 800 damage is going to be so good, especially if you're going aggro with that turret. You can just throw it onto really squishy brawlers It's going to get a couple of ticks. That's going to build up to like 1,600 damage. May not seem like a lot, but in a lot of gunfights, this actually wins you the battle so many occasions. So that's going to be the best build for Pam. So next up, we have Frank. And even with the introduction of his new gadget, it's not going to change up the way you play him. So Sponge is going to be by far the better star power for me. The extra HP, you can have nearly 11k HP with Frank. Is so insane. It's going to take a long time for the enemies to actually get you down. And then the gadget, which enables you to basically be immune from all stuns and kind of pullbacks. It's going to be really good because for Frank, he's a really easily countered brawler, especially if you're using your super. You don't want to get knocked back and just completely waste your super, because that's the best thing about him. You want to be using that gadget to prevent that. So next up, we have BB. It's going to be an easy choice for gadgets because she only has one, but it's such a good gadget, especially when you combine it with Baton Stance. It just enables you to stay alive for so long. The only way you're going to be using the home run star power for me is going to be Siege, to collect that first Siege bolt to try and get as many bolts as possible. Home run can be really underrated in Siege, but across every other game mode, Baton Stance is going to be by far the better star power. So up next, we have B, and finally, after Rattled Hive got nerfed, I feel like Honeypot is finally the better gadget, which is really good news. I really didn't like the other gadget. It could deal up to like 9k damage to the whole enemy team, which was absolutely insane. And Rattled Hive is just a really bad gadget right now. So Honeypot can be really good, especially when placed behind a wall. If you haven't got a thrower or something completely aggro to take it down, it can actually cause a lot of pressure. And also you can tank one shot with it. It can be pretty underrated. And then as far as star powers goes, everyone knows Honeycoat is now being removed. With the new star power with B, I honestly feel like once the update drops, that's going to be the better star power. The shield whenever you get a charged shot is going to be really underrated. It can keep you alive in certain scenarios, but for now it's going to be insta B load. That's always been a good star power with B. The fact that you can get 2 3k shots. If you miss one, you can get another one. It can be really OP. Next up is Nanny, and for gadgets, even with Return to Sender being really OP and Bounty, I feel like every other game mode, the other gadget, the TP one's going to be better, especially in Heist. I've seen a lot of times in competitive, a lot of people, what they do with Nanny, they'll just use a super to get up the map, TP on the safe, and deal a lot of damage. That could be a really good strategy with Nanny. Return to Sender, for me, as I said, I feel like he only really gets value in Bounty against those brawlers like Piper and Nanny itself. He can be really good at deflecting the damage. Other than that, it's not going to be good in game modes like Brawl, for example, because you're going to have a lot of spammy comps that can just basically tap you once, and you're not going to really get much value. So TP is going to be better in every single game mode except for Bounty. And then star power, again, it's going to be autofocus for me. By far the better star power. You can deal an extra 2,500 damage. For me, when you're using shield, it just feeds the enemy super a lot of the time. It can have some sort of value in Siege, but for me, just being able to kill people with your Nanny Peep is OP. So next we have Edgar. Edgar only has one gadget. I feel like even if it's a new gadget being implemented with Edgar, this one's going to be the better one because it enables you to get that first super, which is really crucial. As long as you're cycling this, it's going to be good for Edgar. And then going into star powers, I feel like by far for me it's going to be hard landing, even though the star power only deals 1,000 damage. That can be really crucial, especially when you're facing a squishy brawler, especially with the nerfs to Edgar pretty soon. That can help you win the gunfight. The healing star power for me just doesn't get any value except for against tanks. But Edgar's only really brought into competitive when there's squishy brawlers on the battlefield. Okay guys, going into the mythics and starting off with Mortis and his star power, it's by far going to be Cord Snake. Everyone knows that this is the best star power for him, so don't really need to go on about that. And going on to gadgets, it really does depend on your playstyle with Mortis. I see pros more often than not use Survival Shovel. The fact you can get 4 seconds worth of double the ammo reload time, it's going to be really good. And I like it more than Combo Spinner because you can actually chain your bats a lot easier when using this gadget, because the Combo Spinner does do 1.3k damage. It's still a good gadget. It can help you finish off the kills in a lot of scenarios, but the most important factor for me is that it doesn't charge your super. You can't get any charge towards your bats, and that's going to be the most important. Okay guys, so now moving on to Tara. She's not in the best place in the meta right now, but for her build, I feel like I can use either gadget and either star power. Again, it just depends to what you like. In Brawl, a lot of times I'll use Healing Shade because it can get a lot of value going in behind you and your teammates, healing you up so much. Healing Shade's probably going to be better in that aspect, but in maps like Snake Prairie, the damage pet can be much better. It can help you scout the enemy, especially against brawlers that don't have a fast reload speed. That pet can absolutely destroy them, especially brawlers like Sprout as well. But both gadgets are really good and can have a good impact on the field. So next up, we have my favorite brawler, Gene, and by far the best build for him is going to be his older gadget, Lamp Blowout. That's going to be by far way better than his new gadget. His new gadget absolutely sucks, unfortunately, but Lamp Blowout, you get 3 usages, although it's been nerfed quite heavily. What it enables you to do is just that little knockback. As long as you're getting used to the range, I feel like it's still a good gadget to use. And then Magic Puffs is by far going to be the better star power. The fact that you can heal your teammates for 400 per second is going to be really OP. So next up we have Max, and Max is so underrated in the meta. Probably one of the best comp brawlers to use right now, especially if you're using her even in mid in gem grab. She's insane. So the main reason for this is going to be her star power supercharged. What this enables you to do, even if you're not shooting anyone, you can passively charge your super, and the amount of speed you can get a game is absolutely crazy. And obviously if your team speeded it up, they're going to be able to hit shots a lot easier. The enemy team's going to find a hard time actually hitting those guys, and it just allows for such immense pressure. It's such a good star power, and as I said, in the comp scene, it's absolutely running wild with the amount of maxes in the game. And then Gadget's Phase Shifter is going to be by far the better gadget. So now moving on to Mr. P. He's had a new gadget recently and it is so OP. Porter Reinforcement is going to be by far the better gadget. The fact that you can just throw 3 porters on top of anyone you choose to is kind of OP. It enables you to charge your super a lot quicker as well, especially if you're throwing it on a brawler, which finds it really hard to deal with those penguins. Brawlers like Sprout, Mortis, it can be really annoying to have to waste an ammo and take those down. But that's going to be the better gadget. And then moving on to star powers in this meta, Revolving Door has been a really annoying star power to use, because a lot of times, like I said, those penguins are just going to go absolutely crazy. The fact you can get multiple penguins out after every second, even when one's destroyed, a new one will spawn. It can just cause so much pressure on the field. So now moving on to Sprout, the better star power by far is going to be photosynthesis for him. The fact that he can turn into a mini tank is so OP. It's going to be so hard to actually take him down, especially if you combine this with the gadget that enables you to heal up for 2000 every single time when you're near a piece of grass. It's going to be a really good combination. But the only mode you're going to be using the transplant gadget is Siege. It's really good at blocking off certain lanes, and especially if you're defending a robot, what you can do with that gadget, you can basically place walls around the Ike, so basically the robot don't even touch your Ike. It's just some crazy defense, and to be honest, Sprout is really OP. So next up we have one of the best brawlers in the game right now. It's going to be Byron, and with his gadget, there's only one gadget, but it's super OP, so yeah, that's going to be amazing. And then going into his star power, Injection is going to be the better star power for me and basically every single pro right now, because you can get so much value with this star power. The fact that you can pierce your teammates, get the enemies, and especially, for example, with a lot of Mr. P in the meta right now, you can shoot through porters, also heal your teammates, also deal damage to the enemy. It just deals to really good value, and that's going to be a better star power for me. So now moving into legendaries, we're starting off with Spike. He only has one gadget, but it can be really good, especially when destroying those tankier brawlers. And then star powers, I feel like Curveball's always going to be the better star power for him, especially on those longer range maps. You can just get an easy shot every single time with him. I think the only game mode that you can really use Fertilize on is Siege, especially when trying to deal with an enemy robot. It can be really good. To be honest, both star powers are viable, but Curveball is going to be the better one. Okay, so up next we have Crow. It's going to cause a huge debate in the comment section because of Crow. He's got a really good build. You can basically use any gadget and any star power, but for me, the best combo is going to be Slowing Toxin with the carrying Crow star power as well. The Slowing Toxin has now been buffed to 5 seconds, which is absolutely insane, especially if you tag a couple of enemies. It just basically enables you to get a free kill a lot of times. 5 seconds is such a long period of time. And then carrying Crow, I just like finishing off those brawlers below 50% HP. But as I said, with the balance changes, this might change. The Leon is up next. Really easy choice. He's only got one gadget. Really trash gadget. Hopefully you'll get a good one in the future. And then star powers. Invisi-Heal is going to be by far the better star power for him. The fact that you can heal 1000 per second is going to be really OP. Okay, so up next we have Sandy. So he only has one gadget, so that's going to be really easy. And star powers, it can come down to what you prefer, but for me, I'll explain my reasonings towards why I like Rude Sands more. So when it's a Sandy versus Sandy interaction, and for example, the enemy Sandy has healing, the healing star power, and you have a damage star power, basically the damage one's going to counteract the healing, because you can see where the other team are, but then they can't see where you are, which is a really OP. And until you see it, until you kind of know that interaction, I guess, and a lot of people, you do know that interaction, it's going to be much better, and it's basically just going to counter the enemy Sandy. The only time I really use the healing star power is when I'm using a really tanky combo, especially in Siege. For example, if I'm using like Jackie and BB, it's going to be really good to heal up your tanks and can cause a good synergy, but both star powers are really good for Sandy. So moving on to the final legendary with Amber. She only has one gadget, but it's a really OP gadget. And then star powers, for me, I always use Wild Flames. The main reason for this, you can get multiple supers on the ground at the same time. You can cover a lot of the map up, and then the passive obviously charging of your super. You can basically, what you can do in certain scenarios, you can just pop your gadget and just get a free super if you stand behind a wall. It's really OP, and especially in those Amber versus Amber situations, Wild Flame's always gonna win. So moving on to chromatics with a Gale. He only has one gadget. It used to be such an OP gadget. For now, it's only used in certain scenarios. And then moving on to star powers, it's kind of personal preference for me. I always use the stun star power, especially when you super someone against a wall. What it can enable you to do is just get that quick kill really efficiently, especially if you're up against like a tank, for example, like a BB, like a Mortis. You can just throw them against a wall, charge your super back really quickly. That's going to be the main reason why I use Gale in this meta. I've seen a lot of Gale in hot zone right now to counter the likes of Edgar and Mortis, and that star power is the main reason why he's so good. Okay, so up next we have an easy one with Surge. He only has one gadget, but that's the main reason why he's even valid in the meta. His gadget is so OP. And then star power, really easy. Serve Ice Cold is going to be better. So ever since they changed the mechanics with Surge, Serve Ice Cold is going to be really good, because when you die, you get that second level still, and everyone knows how painful it is to move around with first level Surge. You really don't want that. So once you get your super once with Surge, you're always going to be keeping that second level. Okay, so up next we have Colette. So she only has one gadget, really good gadget in the game, but then going into star powers, she has two really good star powers. So for me, in Siege and in Heist, I do use the shield star power, because a lot of times you can actually get that shield stay back, and especially if you combine this with the likes of Byron as well. If you've got Byron in your comp, you got to always use that shield star power. It's so OP. And then in gem grabs specifically, a lot of people, especially in competitive, have been using the push it star power. So what this enables you to do is basically just guarantee a kill on an enemy tank. For example, what Colette you normally bring out to counter a tank, and you push them back, just completely destroying them is going to be really OP. Okay, so up next we have Lou. He only has one gadget, but it's a pretty cool gadget in itself. And then star power, super cool is going to be by far the better star power. The fact that you can actually freeze people when they're in your super, it's just really good. The freezing combination can be so crippling, and hypothermia just offers zero value. Okay, so finally getting into the last brawler, Colonel Ruffs, with his gadgets and star powers. So his gadget's a really good gadget, and the fact he can block a lot of shots, it's going to be really OP. He only has one gadget. Then moving on to his star powers, I feel like 9 times out of 10 I will be using the field promotion star power. This is an absolutely crazy OP star power right now. So what you can basically do, especially brawlers like Jean and Max, which you're going to synergize really well with, the type of brawlers that you stay close to a lot of the time. So you can just stay really close and basically heal them or give them an extra 30 HP, which may not seem like a lot, but by the end of like a Brawl game, by the end of like a gem grab game, if you literally stayed by that brawler for a long time, you can give them so much more HP, sometimes like 3 or 4k extra HP with this. It's so insane. Okay guys, this is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. This took a super long time to record and script, that kind of thing. So if you guys enjoyed, if you want to see more of these videos, make sure you're smacking the like button and let me know down in the comment section below what you want to see. But as I said, getting so close to 100,000 subscribers now, so I really appreciate you guys that have subscribed already, that have supported me. This means a whole lot to me. But that's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.